Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Clipboard Confessional with Bobby and Anthony. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Aniano. And as we inch closer and closer to our fantasy football drafts, you may be having them already if they're slow drafts. We get you ready here. Me and my co-host, good friend, Mr. Bobby. Wow, Bobby, how are we doing on this? I guess our last show for the month of July, not August, knocking on the door, 185 degrees outside, center of the sun type of stuff. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great, dude. I actually heard on the radio today that it's something like 140 million Americans are under some type of heat advisory today, which is, I mean, that's almost half the country, right? That is wild.
That is
I'm
that's a lot of
also
heat.
I'm also alive still, which is great. For you and those who listened to last week's show, I was in a heated battle with a colony of ants in my
That's right.
sunroom. There's a few stragglers, but it appears as though I am victorious. I'm
You
sure
used the
they
illegal stuff, didn't you?
I did. I did. Don't tell anyone. I'm assuming they're probably coming up with a new game plan to attack me when I'm least expecting it. But for right now, all is good.
Yeah, a colony of ants doesn't die. It re-strategizes, it reorganizes, and then it reappears. So just buckle up
Correct.
because if you feel a tickle at your feet, it's not your wife, it's the colony moving into the bed. That's what that's going to be.
Being a grown up is so weird.
It's awful, isn't it? It's
Can't
awful.
can't
Why don't you
talk.
go old school kid and just get out the magnifying glass and just start burning them? Send a message.
Oh yeah. And I could like scoop up the bodies and sprinkle them around like the little
Sprinkle
heads
around.
are
Send
coming
the
out of.
message. Send the
I like it.
message. There you
Like a
go.
head on a steak.
So if you've been following us, and hopefully you have on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel here. We've previewed positions, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, spent 2 episodes on wide receivers. Today we're going to talk about tight end. And we're going to talk about tight end from a couple of different perspectives. Your standard league, and then also towards the end of the show, we'll talk tight end premium. But before we get to tight end, I have a draft question for Bob, which, like I said, he has no idea is coming. And I think it's a tell on where we are today in the world technologically. I recently did a draft. I won't say what it is, a live draft. And the person next to me did their entire draft on AI.
Ugh.
Now, I don't know it was on ChatGPT. I don't know. Like, I'm an idiot. I'm 52 years old. My idea of AI is, the remote, being able to talk into the remote control to tell me to go to a TV channel. All right. That's Siri, Alexa. That's AI for me. Anyway, but I was able to see his computer, and whatever format he was on, he was able to put in a pick. He was inputting into this AI every pick that went through. It had his team, and it was spitting out his next pick. I'm just curious. It's the way the world is going, right? But nonetheless, what do you think? What would you do if you were sitting there with your buddies or in a high stakes online, like a high stakes leagues where it's in person? And this makes me think that if you're in an online league, it's happening more and more. What would you think? What do you think of that? People using AI to draft their teams.
So if I am in the league, go for it. Please. Let that be you. Me sitting here not in the league, I absolutely hate it. What's the point in doing the draft? That's the fun of it. Being there, you making the picks. It's not fun if somebody else or something else is telling you what to do. I think it's ridiculous. But for me, half of my draft strategy, as long as it's not a brand new league, is knowing the people in the league and how they draft and what
Yeah.
they're going to do. This AI doesn't know that the buddy 2 picks away from you is going to take a backup tight end in the seventh round, right? But you do. So they don't know the ins and the outs and the intricacies of what's happening in there in the room. They don't hear the side conversations that are going on. So if I'm in the league, go for it. I don't think it's going to help you, but personally, not a chance. That takes all of the fun out of it for me.
Yeah. He was typing away, and they were telling him, they were just spitting out what you need, and here it is. And yeah, it was I kept peeking, right? And I'm just peeking and peeking and peeking. This is happening right next to me here. So I'm curious because it leads me to believe that if you're in an online draft format, it it's happening, right? People are doing it, and yeah, I don't see the fun in it, right? But I mean, you and I are both teachers. I guess most of our students are writing papers using it, so um,
Well,
why
you know,
not? Right?
this guy's talking to one of his buddies right now. Be like, man, I was in this draft and this guy was next to me, kept looking over my shoulder, trying to steal all my picks, man.
What's funny is he knew who I was. He knew who I was. I don't ever view myself as anybody important in any way, shape, or form. But he sat down next to me, and he knew me from Sirius XM. And I was like, "Oh, nice to meet you." Like, I didn't give a shit, but it was, okay. Yeah. You knowing me, and is worth, if I had $5, I'd still only have $5. So, it doesn't mean much. But I was just curious. I wanted to get your take. There it is. Fair enough. Now let's get into it, though. Right?
Hold on, hold
Tight
on,
end position.
hold on, hold on. You're telling me it never feels good when people are
I
like,
don't.
hey, D, oh man. So I used to write a fancy article for a
But
newspaper,
that's how
and
we met, though.
it's true, right?
Right?
I
You
will,
heard me. You
yep,
you you hit me up online. We phone numbers, started shooting the shit, and here we are.
yep, that's right. So I used to write a fantasy article for a newspaper, and I remember sitting at a bar one time. This guy's next to me, they're talking about fantasy football, and I'd overheard it, and I like chimed in a little bit, and they were like, "Wait a minute!" And they got on their phone, they brought up the article, and they showed. They're like, "That's you, isn't it?" It felt a little good for me personally.
Yeah. As you know, 2 weeks ago was it? I broadcast live in New York City, right? Legends Bar, Scott Fishbowl. Good time. I walk in, I do my draft. A couple of people knew who I was. Oh, Anthony, hey, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. That's the end of it. Um, did the draft. Show ran from 2 to 4 o'clock Eastern. You know what I did at 4 o'clock when the show was over?
Where's that train?
There's about 200, maybe 300 people there. I was hungry, and there was a raffle. I waited for the raffle, so I won a raffle to a distillery here on Long Island. I went to the corner of the bar. When I tell you, tucked myself in the corner of the bar. I had been talking to the bartender before the draft. Tucked myself in the corner. Got a fantastic cheeseburger, fries. Had my first beer of the day because I didn't like to have any before the show. Had my beer, and then when that ended, I watched the raffle, got what I won, and then for an Italian, I have perfected the Irish goodbye, and that was it. That's it. I'm in. I'm out. I'm going home. It's been fun, everybody. That
Good for
is
you.
that is it. For somebody, if you ever hear me on Sirius XM comes up with the "Good morning, everybody" and all that loud, obnoxious stuff, I just want to get back home. That's it. That's it.
Good for you, dude.
So that being said, let's talk some fantasy football though, because it is coming, right? We're on the precipice of August. Drafts are rolling up. We've covered just about everything. Today we're going to cover the tight end position. I do not talk kickers. If you play with kickers in your fantasy league, don't talk to me. I'm actually eliminating defenses in some leagues I'm in now as well, going just strictly offense. Although you and I are in an IDP league, that's a whole other animal. But let's talk tight end for a minute. And before we go to players, let me ask you this. Standard one tight end, PPR format. Where are you taking that tight end? Or what's your tight end draft strategy?
I am not taking anyone in the first 2 rounds. So
So
if
Bowers and McBride are off your board.
well, right now, Fantasy Pros, their ADP has McBride at pick 27. So
It might be there.
right there, maybe. I'm probably waiting to about mid third. And actually, I just found out in my league of record, I'm picking eighth out of 12. We just did that whole pick your draft spot deal a few days ago. Pretty pumped about eight. We talked about, I think, a little bit. I don't can't remember if it was on air or off air about where we like to select. Eight, I'm good with eight. So unless McBride makes it to me in the third, he like that far down, not going to be mine. And then I'm waiting. And then I'm just going to wait for either really good value with one of the middle guys like Hawkinson or Laporta, maybe even Kelsey, or I'm just going to punt the position until the very end. And there are several reasons why I do that, which I'm sure we'll get to. But I'm going third round, one of the top two guys. or I'm going to wait and see if I can get a round or two value. Somebody slips through the cracks. And if that doesn't happen in the middle rounds up to about 8 or 9, then I'm just going to wait.
You willing to take Kittle in the third round?
I don't think so. I think I'm probably going to wait to the fourth. I know that he's unbelievably productive. He was what, tight end 2 last year. He does battle injuries, and they're struggling for weapons right now as far as health goes and all that stuff in San Francisco. I tell you what, if I'm there at the end of the third, it's I might make that jump on Kittle at the end of the third. It's just it
Kittle
gives
had
you such
more
an
yards per
advantage.
reception than any other tight end in the league last year.
Yeah.
14.6.
How
Over
old is he? Was he
1,100 total yards, 76 catches. He didn't have the receptions that Bowers or McBride had, or even, let's say, Hawkinson, but 14.6 yards per reception. That's
he's
a
gonna be
big number for a tight end.
yeah, it is big time. He's gonna be 32 in October. Um,
That doesn't scare me.
Yeah, but he has a different game too than like, Kelsey, he's what, 36 right now, something like
Yeah.
that. They play very different games. I mean, if you watch that Netflix show, I think it was last off season with George Kittle, he is looking for dudes to hit. He loves blocking, much
Yeah.
more physical style game, which is why he misses some. If you take Kittle, I recommend grabbing a late round guy just in case.
So it's funny we talk about it, right? And I think part of Kittle's success last year was all the other injuries that occurred on that offense.
Hmm?
But and you said it, like Kittle has been an injury, not in recent years though. I'm looking at it. 15 games last year, 16, 15, 14. Last 4 years he's been healthy, 60 catches. He hasn't had 100 targets since 2019, but last year 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns, 74 yards per game receiving. Like that's a nice number
It
when you
is.
look at it. I'll tell you this, his consistency in play, his consistency on the field, he's a third rounder with McBride for me. If he's there, he's gonna and I don't and I'm with you. I probably won't take him there because there'll be too many running backs and wide receivers that tempt me that I prefer. Um, I usually draft strategy wise end up at like that tight end 8, that tight end 9 guy, which is like Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram, that realm of tight end. And I love Evan Ingram this year in Denver. That's a whole other conversation we'll get to. But it's just interesting. What about McBride? And I'm not going to spend. Is first off, let's say this, and I don't want to spend forever on Bowers. We've talked about actually that tight end 1 changing over. We know what Bowers does, right? Bowers is the featured weapon in that Raiders offense, along now with Ashton Genty. Jacoby Myers, the wide receiver. I just think Bowers is going to be. Would you ever, or are you excited? Let me phrase it this way: does it make you happy to see somebody else in the draft take Bowers in the first round? Um,
Yes.
right? Like you're like, yes, that guy's going to be chasing running back. And I've made that mistake once, I think, with Kelsey years ago, and I felt like I could never catch up at running back and wide receiver. I was chasing, chasing, chasing. Um, it didn't work for me. So like, you're right, you're with me on that. Like, so let somebody else take Bowers in the first round.
Absolutely. And this is, I mean, I don't think this is crazy, obviously, but I like it because Trey McBride is actually my tight end 1. Now, it's not like it's McBride and then everybody else. They're very close, and everyone and their mother has Brock Bowers as the tight end 1, which I get. He just had the greatest rookie season in the
Mm-hmm.
history of fantasy tight ends, which is awesome. But if you get that out of your mind, take the jerseys off the players and look at the numbers. Brock Bowers had 112 targets. McBride had 111. Brock Bowers went 1194, 1146 for McBride. The biggest difference was 3 touchdowns. McBride couldn't score a touchdown for if his life depended on it.
Mm-hmm.
Brock Bowers got 5. That's really the only thing separating those guys. The targets, the catches, the receiving yards, all they had almost an identical season. And if we look at the offenses, the Cardinals didn't bring in anyone to take anything away from McBride. McBride could, and I think should, not only repeat what he did, but get better because he's going to find the end zone more than twice
Even
in the
with year 2 of Harrison.
Yeah, I think that whole team, they were 8-9 last year, and I think that they're going to be improved this year. I have them as a playoff team actually. So I think the whole team improves. The whole offense gets a little bit better, except maybe the run game. Connor, I love James Connor. I had him on a team, two teams last year. We're getting a little older. I don't maybe that run game regresses a little bit, which is going to help the passing game. But then also with Brock Bowers, if you look, do you know who had the who led the Raiders in rushing touchdowns last year?
Led them in rushing touchdowns.
Hmm.
Was it? I mean, they didn't have a running back. Was it one of the quarterbacks?
It was Alexander Madison with four.
Okay, all
Amir
right.
Abdullah had two. This offense could, if everything stayed the same, the offense can improve because Ashton Genty's going to be sniffing double-digit touchdowns on the ground. It,
Right.
in my opinion, right? So that whole offense can get better. They can score more points without Brock Bowers getting any better, without him needing to improve, right? They're going to get more points from other at least one other player. Ashton Genty's a monster. I can't wait to see him on the field. But for me, ever so slightly, I got McBride number one. So yes, please take Bowers in the first. Let some extra talent fall to me wherever I'm drafted in the second. And then, like I said, if I'm in there middle third round, let me get my McBride.
McBride, 6 receiving touchdowns in his career,
Mm-hmm.
3 years. Now, his rookie year, he started 13 games, just wasn't a focal point of the offense, only 265 receiving yards, 29 catches. Year two, he emerges, 81 receptions, 106 targets, 825 yards, 3 touchdowns. Last year, the targets, the receptions explode. 111 receptions, 147 targets. You mentioned it, over 1,100 yards. Only 2 receiving touchdowns. He actually had a rushing touchdown, one carry all year for 2 yards, and it was a touchdown. Does, like, at what point do can we, do you feel comfortable saying Trey McBride 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns? You'd like to think it would be there, but now we're entering year 4, and it's 2 years of being a focal point of the offense, and that red zone work just hasn't been there.
Yeah, I threw out like a $3 bet last year on Trey McBride getting double-digit touchdown catches. Now, the odds, it was like plus 700. Like it was crazy, the odds, and I knew it would be a super long shot, so just $2-3 on that bet. So yes, I think it can happen. I don't think he's going to get double digit scores, but yeah, you want to tell me 5, 6, 7, 8 touchdowns? I can absolutely see that happening for him. 2 touchdowns, right? He had almost 500 more receiving yards than the next highest tight end that also only scored 2 touchdowns. It's just so hard for me to think that that's going to happen to him again. It's I can't see it.
Okay, so let me ask you this question.
Mhm.
In my rankings, I have McBride 1, 2, and then I have Laporta sitting at like 4.
Yep.
Okay, with Kittle in the middle.
Yep.
Now Laporta in year 2, everything regressed. Less targets, about 40 less targets, about 26 less receptions, about 160 yet less receiving yards. However, although the touchdowns regressed, the guy is a red zone machine. 10 touchdowns his rookie year, 7 last year on a down year, right? Like, people had Laporta potentially as the tight end 1 just a year
Yep.
ago. It was good. It wasn't what they wanted though, and part of that was what's his name, Jamison Williams, then in Detroit, picking up more of a role. Amon Ra, that offense was just so well rounded. That being said, it was still 7 touchdowns. It's 17 touchdowns in 2 years for Sam Laporta. Can he? If you're confident in McBride's touchdowns catching up to his talents, let's phrase it that way, are you also confident in Laporta, the targets, the receptions, the yards, catching up to his touchdown production? Or is this what we're going to see because there's so many weapons in Detroit now?
Yeah, so you mentioned Jameson Williams. The only thing that I've heard all offseason is how they can't wait to utilize Jameson Williams more and how the new offensive coordinator was John Morton, I think is his name, going to come in and use Jameson Williams more. We're going to do this. We've opened up his route tree. Um, 26 catches is a lot to lose from one year to the next. If I had to guess, I would say Laporta's going to settle somewhere in the middle. He's going to get more than 60 catches, I would think, less than 86, which is what he got as a rookie. The yards are going to be similar. I think he's going to fall somewhere in the middle, which is why I have him at tight end floor as well. So we're right
More
there together.
touchdowns this year, McBride or Laporta.
Ooh, boy. If I had to bet money on it, I'd bet Laporta because that's what we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But the usage, McBride's usage is going to be through the
Yeah,
roof.
more targets, more receptions, more yards,
There's
more
a
touchdowns
chance.
for Laporta.
Yeah, there's a chance Laporta's the fourth option in the passing game.
With
I mean,
Gibbs, you're including Gibbs as well.
Yes, correct. So we got Gibbs. There's obviously Amon Ra, but there's a chance Jamison Williams is more utilized than Laporta. So we'll see. But he's certainly, I think, a pretty safe pick. He's going to be a tight end one somewhere.
Right, right. He'll finish top 8 even on a
Yeah.
down year.
Yep.
I'm not concerned about that. Now, speaking of top 8, Travis Kelce, 36 years old, madly in love with Taylor Swift. I was actually disappointed they haven't gotten engaged yet. I thought they'd do that after like the last Super Bowl win for them.
Why do you care about that?
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love how it makes people angry when they show her on TV. I giggle. I giggle like a little girl when people go on social media angry because Taylor Swift is shown on TV and they get angry over it. It entertains me to the highest degree. And the fact that people get so angry that their initial reaction is I have to jump on social media and complain about this. I look at and these are probably people I know, people I've been friends with forever, and I laugh and I'm like, I've known you for 30 years. I know what your home life is like. You have to have something more important to do than complain about Taylor Swift being on your TV screen right now, and then reacting by going, you know what? I need to go on Facebook so the whole world can know how unhappy I am. Oh, it entertains me to no end, my friend. It's fantastic.
They just need to shake it off.
That's it. That's all they got to do. I love it. I love it. And you know what? If it gets my wife to sit down and watch a football game with me for 10 minutes,
there you go.
I'll take it. I'll take it. But yeah, I don't know. I just laugh at people. It's one of my favorite hobbies, I guess. There's probably some old curmudgeon somewhere who probably just turned off the show because they were like, I hate Taylor Swift. How dare you, Aniano? You're an idiot. But whatever. Nice knowing you. Anyway, Travis Kelce, nonetheless. Regression. That being said, I just want to point out something here. He had more targets last year than he did in 2023. He had more receptions, only 4, but it's still more than what he had in 2023 last year. Now, the yardage was down about 160. That was the big difference. He was about 2 yards less per reception from 2023 to 2024, and about 4 yards less per reception from 2022 to 2024. The targets have stayed there, though. 133 targets last year, 97 catches. It's just not as big a play as it was in 2022, even 2023. 3 touchdowns last year. I don't know if he's going to approach the 12 he hit in 2022. That being said, there's a lot of talk of Travis Kelce, age 36, regression. And there is regression in some lines of the stat column, but the receptions and the targets did not regress. How are we treating Kelce? Like Rotoballer has him ranked as tight end 7. That feel comfortable for you?
Yeah, that's actually exactly where I have him. So he's not going to get 3 touchdowns again. We're going to bounce back from that because that's what Kelce does, right? Him and Mahomes, they have that unbelievable chemistry, and he's gonna have some positive regression there and get back in the end zone a little more. When he was the thing that killed him were the games that killed you. Like week 2, 1.1 points, 3.7, 1.8. And that's just not what Travis Kelce does, right? That's a blip on the radar. What worries me is Rashee Rice. What's his suspension look like? Is he coming back? Because he was healthy for the first 3 weeks of the season, and Kelsey did not go over 5 fantasy points in half point PPR in the weeks where Rashee Rice was there because they're running the same areas of the field, right? They're
Hmm.
on those short to mid distance routes. They're going across the middle, things like that. That does bother me a bit. But like you said, the usage is still there. They're not going to ignore him. I understand he's 36, 37 years old, but he had a 20-point game last year, something that Sam Laporta did not do. He had a 16-point game, 15 points. So he's going to be fine. He's obviously not who he was. He's going to be a middling tight end one. Like I said, tight end seven's where I have him. I feel comfortable there. I don't see him jumping up many spots. I don't see him dropping too many spots. Safe, boring tight end that you can put in and leave alone.
The one thing you can't do anymore, which I think you were able to do a few years ago, is stack Mahomes and Kelsey.
I buy
That's
that.
not a strategy that plays anymore. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, probably could have won you a league. That strategy can't win you a league anymore. Now, what do you prefer this year, though? Speaking of veteran tight ends, Kelsey or Mark Andrews? Now, Mark Andrews was brutal at the start of the year, if you remember. He was droppable in shallower leagues. And I'll never forget it. Isaiah Likely, if you remember last year, the Ravens' other tight end, Isaiah Likely, has a monster first week. Monster.
2 touchdowns?
I think it was 2 touchdowns, 100 yards, 8 catches. Like every fantasy football dream came through, right? People on Sirius XM, people in leagues, they went nuts on Fab for Isaiah Likely. And I remember saying, hey, it's one game. Everybody slow down. By week 4, Isaiah Likely was back on the waiver wire. Wasn't even a top 24 tight end. And as the year went on, Mark Andrews slowly reemerged as Mark Andrews. Now the targets and the receptions weren't there, but he did finish with 11 touchdowns. And down the stretch, he had a touchdown every week from week 12 through week 18. He had a touchdown. In fact, starting in week 6, touchdown. Week 7, 2 touchdowns. Week 8, touchdown. Week 9, nothing. Week 10, touchdown. Week 11, nothing. And then weeks 12 through 18, he had a touchdown every single game. And this was after the first couple of weeks, 2 for 14, 4 for 51. Weeks 3 and weeks 4, no catches. That's probably when people were, they were burying him for dead. And then it started coming back. Week 5 and then week 6. From week 6 to week 18, he had all 11 of his touchdowns. Are we believing that end of season Mark Andrews? And are we preferring him over Kelsey, even with only 69 targets and 55 catches?
So first off, Likely was 9 for 111 and 1 touchdown in week 1. But
Okay.
then in week 5 against Cincinnati, he had 3 catches, 13 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That
There it
was the
was.
game he had two
Okay.
touchdowns. Mark Andrews, I'm going to believe two things. First, I'm going to believe that he's not going to repeat as having a career year in touchdown receptions. He's not going to get to 11. But I'm also going to believe, which most people don't think about or remember, is the dude didn't he get a car wreck right before the season started? He got a car crash. He was
Okay.
Now he played, but obviously it took him a few weeks. He battled an injury or two, and all of a sudden we get to week 6. We're fully healthy. We're all recovered, and boom, we're the Mark Andrews we know. I think he's going to be fine. I have him obviously at tight end 8 right after Kelsey because that's what you do. But I'm if anyone between him and Kelsey, if I want to pick a ceiling, I think Andrews has a higher ceiling than Kelsey does at this point in their careers, in their offenses. I mean, that Baltimore Ravens offense is Lamar Jackson threw what, 41 touchdown passes last year? Now, I
Yeah.
don't think he's going to repeat that, but I mean, give me a piece of that pie.
And I would say that Mark Andrews is still crunch time, red zone time, Lamar Jackson's go-to guy, similar to Kelsey for Patrick Mahomes, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, they tried it in the not the AFC. You always want to say it's AFC Championship game, but the week before
Hmm.
the division weekend when Andrews dropped that 2-point conversion that
Yep,
would have
yep,
sent the
yep, yep.
game into overtime. I mean, that's who they went to. That play was designed for him.
Yeah. Very good point. What about I'm looking at the top 10 list in no particular order. Hawkinson, fully healthy from the ACL in Minnesota. Technically a rookie quarterback, I guess, in JJ McCarthy. In Scott Fishbowl, and we'll talk more about my strategy there at the end, but I have Laporta and TJ Hawkinson. Are you expecting a full season of Hawkinson returning him to what he was uh, really before Minnesota acquired him?
I think he can. Last year, not good. Only played in 10 games. He was tight in 17 in points per game. His average
Didn't have a
four.
touchdown.
Right. He averaged 4 catches for 45 yards a game. That's bleh.
Yeah.
But Sam Darnold was really opening that offense up, chucking the ball downfield. Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. I don't think McCarthy's going to come out guns blazing like Darnold did. I think it's going to be a much more conservative approach, which I think helps TJ Hawkinson a lot, especially in a PPR format. Most of my leagues are half point PPR, so you're good there as well. So yeah, I got Hawkinson at tight end 5. That's probably about where he is in most ranks. I
I
think
mean, the
it's
year before, in 2023, in his first full season in Minnesota, 95 catches, 127 targets, 960 yards, 5 touchdowns. You'll
yeah.
sign up for those numbers, right?
Oh, dude, with the tight end landscape, absolutely. You just hit the end. You talked about Mark Andrews, tight end 8 for me. That's it for tight ends for a long time. What if I
No,
don't get
no
one?
interest in Evan Ingram in Denver.
Yeah, but I have him at tight end 6 personally.
Oh, all right. Talk to
Yeah,
me about that then. Okay,
yes.
talk to me about that.
So obviously we know 2 years ago he had a career year, right? Jacksonville dominated, tons of catches, tons of yards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now he goes to Denver, right? Denver is dying for a second pass catcher. They got Cortland Sutton, and then what? We got Marvin Mims. I don't think so, buddy. So Evan Ingram is going to be fantastic in that role. In my opinion, we got a young quarterback in Bo Nix who's going to be able to utilize that tight end position. We have Sean Payton as the head coach. Now, Evan Ingram's not going to be Jimmy Graham. They're very different players. They do different things. But you got a coach that knows how to make that happen. Evan Ingram, now I'm really reaching the recesses of my brain, but those 2 years ago when Evan Ingram had that big breakout year, he either
Mm-hmm.
had the most he lined up in the slot the most of any tight end, or top 2 or 3. So they're going to move him out in the slot. They're going to use him in a bunch of different ways, which he can. And I like it. I like it a lot. I'm pretty excited about Evan Ingram this year.
My only question is, was that 2023 in Jacksonville? 143 targets, career high, 114 catches, career high, 963 yards, career high, 4 touchdowns, second most in his career. Like, is that peak Evan Ingram? Are we chasing? Because whether it was Giants or the Jacksonville Jaguars, he's been good. 700, 570, 460, 650, 408, 766. Last year was a down year. Like that 963 yards, are we chasing a number that is not doable again for him? Or do you think because of that Denver offense, Sean Payton, great reference to Jimmy Graham, by the way, are those numbers approachable? And like Evan Ingram has never been a touchdown machine. He's been in the league since 2017. So what is that? 8 years. In 8 years, he only has 25 touchdowns. So it's 3 touchdowns a season. Jimmy Graham was a touchdown monster in his heyday. Can Sean Payton's offense turn Evan Ingram into that type of touchdown, target for Bo Nix?
No, I don't think Evan Ingram's going to get double-digit touchdowns or anything like that. But what if I told you Evan Ingram went 84 catches for 830 yards and 5 scores?
Every one of those numbers would be the second most of his career.
And that's tight end 6, right where I have. You don't need to do a
Yeah,
lot in
but
the
isn't
tight
that,
end.
I'm going to argue with you a little bit.
Please.
That's a bold estimate considering he's only done it once.
In what offenses? A New York Giants offense? Who's this? Daniel Jones? Was that the quarterback, or was it late last year, Eli Manning?
I think it was late Eli 2017.
Yeah, and then he has a career year in Jacksonville with Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence. You're telling me he's going to Bo Nix is, in my opinion, you know I'm high on Bo Nix. He's at
Yeah,
least as good what he showed his rookie year as Trevor Lawrence has been. And Sean Payton, Doug Peterson's not allowed in the same room as Sean Payton. He's in a much better situation. I know he's a year older. He's probably pushing 30 by now. But in my opinion, he's in a better offense, better QB, or at least the same quarterback, and definitely a better coach.
interesting. All right. I don't mind him where he is. I don't have him as high as you,
Mhm.
but he's still a top 10 tight end for me. Like he's in that David Njoku conversation, the Tucker Crafts, the Jake Fergusons. That's where I have him. You play him every week. He'll give you the 10 points and you move on with your week. I want to pivot though for a minute now and talk about this past April's NFL draft. There were a couple of rookies taken early. Uh, Tyler Warren went 14th overall, first round to the Indianapolis Colts. Colston Loveland went to the Bears. He was the first tight end off the board, 10th overall. Now, to me, the path for Tyler Warren is as clear can be. I think he will be he will take receptions away from Downs, Alec Pierce. I think they hurt whoever is at quarterback for the Colts. Loveland does have to deal with Cole Kmet there, who's still there and a trusted veteran in that Chicago offense. In the second round, you also had the Jets take Mason Taylor, who really has no challenge for playing time there. Seattle took Elijah Arroyo in the second round. They just cut Noah Fant. That only helps Elijah Arroyo's role. And Terrence Ferguson went in the second round to the Rams. Tyler Higbee, though, is still there. And it's a veteran team in the Rams. So I'm not very high necessarily on Ferguson. When all you have is kind of veteran Stafford, Devontae Adams, I think that coaching staff will continue running with veterans until they can. That being said, I've seen Tyler Warren, especially, creep into top 10 rankings. I've seen conversation where Tyler Warren could end up being somewhere in between Laporta's rookie year and Bauer's rookie year, which would be a top 5 finish in any way, shape, or form. Are you on board with the rookie tight end? And let me double down. Knowing your strategy at tight end, are you comfortable waiting and starting your tight end position with the Tyler Warren as the first tight end you draft?
So we talked about my strategy, right? If I don't get one of the big guys, if nobody falls to me, and then those mid rounds, I'm still waiting for value. I don't get it, I'm waiting, right? So let me ask you a question. Last year, we're talking points per game.
Yeah.
Sam Laporta was tight end 8 in points per game. How many points per game separated him and Hunter Henry, who was 16th in points per game?
Probably 1.5.
2.
Yeah.
You go down to tight end 22. Tight end 8 and tight end 22 were separated by 3 points per game. Tight end 22 is an undrafted player, right? I mean, how many tight ends are really getting drafted in your normal leagues where you start one tight end?
I'm probably taking somebody in the top 10 and not worrying about a second tight end. I'll worry about the bye week when it rolls through.
Right. So in your whole league, what are we talking? 16 tight ends? How many teams are going to take 2? 6,
There'll be
maybe?
a couple that will be, and it's foolish. It's a wasted second pick.
Right. So once you get past those top 8-ish guys, in my opinion, like this year, I think it's 8. Mark Andrews is the cutoff for me. Then, dude, I don't want to be grumpy old man like I was for the late round rookie running backs. It doesn't matter. Throw a dart, find someone that you think has the highest upside, and take them. Last year, Jonnu Smith was what, tight end 4? He was tight end 21 in ADP last year, undrafted. Hunter Henry, top 12 guy, tight end 23 last year in ADP. Ertz was tight end 26. Tucker Kraft was tight end 37. He wasn't even the first tight end drafted from his own NFL team. Luke Musgrave was tight end 19 last year. What I'm saying is, once you get past those first 8 guys, just take whoever you like the most. For me, It's all about opportunity. And you mentioned it, Tyler Warren, right? Rookie tight ends historically been tough for them to come into the NFL and produce right away. Last 2 years, not so much, right? And then
Hmm.
Evan Ingram back in like 2017. But Tyler, you want to have some fun watching some college tape on a tight end? Put in Tyler Warren and just do the highlight film. You don't have to because his every play is fun for him to watch. Dude, he's catching the ball, he's running the ball. My man is throwing the ball. They let him do everything. He was so fun to watch. And like you said, he's battling Michael Pittman, he's battling Alec Pierce. That dude's going to get some targets. He's got no one in front of him. I like it. The second rookie tight end for me is not Colston Loveland. Okay. Because in a different situation, maybe. But let's think about there was a team last year that had three wide receivers and a tight end and a pass catching running back, and everybody was high on him. And this guy's going to do great. What team was that? It's right, the Chicago Bears. It's happening again. Colston Loveland comes in. He's already got a tight end there, and DJ Moore, and Luther Burden, and Roma Dunze, and DeAndre Swift. I mean, maybe you want to stream him in a good matchup, but you do that's crossing your fingers, closing your eyes, and throwing a dart. I don't want to do. I'm okay throwing a dart, but I need my eyes open when I do it. Okay. When you're streaming, you want a touchdown. If you can get a touchdown from your streaming tight end, which is sad to say, that's all you need. I'd rather have a Zach
Yeah.
Ertz, most boring tight end ever. But he's got a better chance of getting you that touchdown than Colson Loveland. For me, outside of Tyler Warren, I'd rather go Mason Taylor. You mentioned it. Who's in
Yeah.
front of him? Not Tyler Conklin anymore. That dude's gone.
Right.
So he should get the start. He's a pass catching guy, very athletic. Second round draft capital. That's important. That's good. And who are they throwing to? They got Garrett, not just in the tight end room, in general. We said this before. Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, and then who?
Right.
Mason
There is an
Taylor.
opportunity to be a consistent target player in the middle of the field for him.
Yeah. So give me those rookies. And then I'm pretty much out. Although I will say now that Fant's gone, Arroyo, maybe. But that, again, I'd much rather have one of these guys I know is going to do a little something. Give me a Dallas Goddard,
I
who
was going to ask you, would you take the veteran like Goddard
Mhm.
over any of these guys? Again, not sexy, not fun, not overwhelming, but there is a level of consistency with a Njoku, a Dallas Goddard, there a Ferguson. There is a safety net, I think, that they provide, right?
Yeah, it's funny because if you look at my 12 to 15, my rankings, I got Tyler Warren at 12, completely for upside, right? We're swinging for the fences. Tight end 13, now Zach Ertz. Just give me a touchdown. Every now and then, just give me some touchdowns. Then I got Dallas Goddard because I know he misses a lot of games, but when he's on the field, he's pretty good. He was tight end 10 in points per game last year.
Yeah.
Now, again, that's only going to probably be like 7 points per game, maybe. Um, but it's consistent and he's good when he's on the field. And then 15, I don't know, Kyle Pitts, what are we doing? I
Well,
know
okay,
Michael.
so he was my next guy I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Is this the year
Oh,
that we finally give up officially on Kyle Pitts? Now, Kyle Pitts was going to be, he was supposed to be Bowers. He was supposed to be Laporta. And the rookie year was good. 68 catches, over 1,000 yards, 15 yards per catch, only one touchdown, right? That was his downfall. And then he went from 1,000 yards to 350, only played 10 games. 600 yards, 667 2 years ago, 600 last year. Over the last 2 years, combined 100 catches, averaging 50 receptions a season, 7 touchdowns the last 2 seasons. Like, are we done? Are we moving on? Rotoballer has him ranked at 16. So, like I said, I can't trust him though. Like, I got to get somebody before him. Like, I'll take, like I said, we talked about it. I'll be in that Evan Ingram, Jake Ferguson range potentially.
yeah.
Is I think what you'll see with Kyle Pitts is and we reference it all the time. The online, the really tough leagues, people will devalue him. Your backyard, PBR and wings and pizza league, somebody will get caught napping and take him way too early just because of the name Kyle Pitts. What's your take on him? Are you avoiding him at all costs?
I am not avoiding him at all costs. Again, you wait, you wait, you wait. there might be some guys that want to take a chance on Tyler Warren, or I got a couple Redskins fans in my league of record might take Zach Ertz based on his, um, I mean, what was he? Zach Ertz tight end 8 last year, something like that. So that may happen, and I might be sitting there staring at, do I want Kyle Pitts or Cade Otton, or man, maybe even Jonnu Smith, because that's in a whole different offense with a whole different
Yeah.
coaching staff. Then I might do the Pitts thing. I did it last year, and it was awful. Actually, I
Awful.
I benched him for Zach Ertz in the same league where I had him.
Zach Ertz, 66 catches, 91 targets, 7 touchdowns last year. And
Right.
this was coming off of, remember, he was in Arizona, kind of lost his job there to McBride. McBride took over. He got cut, essentially. He wanted out. He was an afterthought last year in Washington. Then they drafted Ben Stanot, a second-round pick. My only concern is eventually maybe Washington does get the second-year player in more this year at the playing time of Ertz. That's something to be mindful of. But Ertz was fantastic last year. He showed glimpses of his heyday with Philadelphia. He was a safety net for Jaden Daniels. But again, now Debo is there, right? There's been changes to that Washington offense. And I don't think there's any denying the fact that the second-year 24-year-old should be, on paper, more explosive than the 35-year-old Zach Ertz. So at some point, you may see a changing of the guard there. So you're on the clock, and your choice is Kyle Pitts. I'm going to give you 3 choices: Kyle Pitts, Zach Ertz, or the guy everybody loved last year and disappointed, Dalton Kincaid.
Um, it depends on what. Again, a lot of this is in the moment. You got to know what your team looks like. If I got a stacked team with a good ceiling, I don't mind having that Zach Ertz parachute, just something to get me through in case I need it. Now, if my team's lower ceiling team, I think you got to go Pitts. And I know this preseason stuff, the summer camp videos of, receivers running routes on air and,
Yeah.
whatever. Michael Penix Jr. comes out in these interviews and he's like, you see KP out there? See KP, we're getting the ball. We're going to do that a lot. And it's like, man, I feel like I hear this every year. It's just a different voice saying it this time, which is
Yeah.
a little exciting. Penix will let that thing go, buddy. Um, but Pitts theoretically has a higher ceiling. I mean, definitely higher than Zach Ertz, but we just haven't seen it.
Yeah, I agree. Any interest in Darren Waller now that the Dolphins acquired him?
Who?
Huh? No?
Who?
Exactly, huh?
Yes, dude. No, there. Come on, that guy. He's only playing football now because he couldn't rap, and he's not in shape. So they put him on the PUP. He's gonna be nothing. He was
He
nothing
just
before he
wanted out of
retired.
New York. He had no interest in playing in New York.
Yeah, but he's not.
Then he had
Well,
the divorce. Yeah,
so are you going to?
everything was a mess.
Are you telling me he's
All
the
right.
next Randy Moss? He doesn't want to be a Raider, so he goes to the Patriots. That's what's
Yeah,
happening.
that basically. I don't think it's gonna. 40 receptions. Darren Waller this year. 40
Right.
receptions.
So you're not starting that.
No,
You
yeah,
need to put that in your lineup.
all right. Now let me ask you another question here. We've gone through that's essentially top 20 tight ends. So now let's pivot for a minute and talk about a change in strategy. We've talked the whole show, your standard tight end. Now, what if somebody is sitting here listening and they are in a tight end premium format, like I was in Scott Fishbowl a couple of weeks ago? It was 3.5 points per reception for a tight end. Caused me to push tight end up my board and to go back-to-back tight ends. Round 4, I went Laporta. Round 5, I had a choice between TJ Hawkinson and DJ Moore. Normally, it would have been a no-brainer. It would have been DJ Moore. But 3.5 points per catch. I took Hawkinson as my second tight end right there. I ended up getting another tight end later. I honestly don't even remember who it was. Nonetheless, it might have been Chigakonkwo later on. How much in that format do you now push the tight end up the board when you know the tight end, whatever the number is? FFPC does it as well. When you know the tight end is getting more points per catch than any other position, how much does that change your draft strategy for the tight end position?
We're certainly going to move them up. I mean, like a normal tight end premium league is like 1.5, maybe 2. This
Maybe.
3.5
Right.
is
It is nuts.
absurd. It's
Yeah.
absurd. So for me, obviously, you got to bump them up. But you got to keep in mind it affects every tight end the same, and but it does put way more value on them, than wide receivers and stuff. So you're looking at DJ Moore. I think you probably made the right call there. Taking Hawkinson or somebody over that. And you definitely want, well, in your specific case, you definitely want at least two when you can flex anyone, right? It's a bunch of
Right.
flex positions.
I'm
Now, if
looking
you're in
now
a
to see what.
right, like my league of record, we start two wide receivers, two running backs, and two flex. So for me, in this tight end premium league, I'm probably reaching a little bit to at least get one of those flexes as an extra tight end. But keep in mind, even with that extra scoring, and you're the math guy here, so I don't know if you want to crunch some numbers. Wide receivers and running backs too, but just I mean, you're talking about pass catchers, they outscore tight ends by a lot. And what I mean by that is last year, Brock Bowers was tight end one, half points PPR. Uh, we're talking 207 points. So the tight end one, he would have been wide receiver nine. Not
Mhm.
bad. Tight end six. So let's go right in the middle of the tight end ones. Travis Kelce had 147 points. Would have been good for wide receiver 38.
Yeah.
Let's go to the back end now. Hunter Henry was tight end 12 with 112 points. The 12th tight end, a tight end one, would have been wide receiver 55. So even with those extra points, the 3.5 points per reception, you could still be okay devaluing the tight end, not all the way, but still taking your DJ Moore, you could still be okay in that scenario. The tight
That's
ends just
interesting.
don't score points.
No, not at the bottom end. They
A
don't.
wide receiver 55,
Yeah.
and that equated to a tight end one in fantasy. It's why now look, if you want to raise the value of tight ends, you do what Scott Fishbowl did, and you give them extra points and this and that. But you still be okay if you don't lean heavy on the tight end, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I ended up drafting four tight ends that day. The two I started, the Hawkinson and Laporta, they'll be in my lineup. And then late in the draft, I took Texans tight end Dalton Schultz. And then, and remember, it was it 14 team, so 22 rounds, 14 teams. So things get thin, right? So now you're throwing darts. And I talk about who I mentioned earlier, Ben Sanat in Washington, in case that changing of the guard eventually happens in Washington.
With
Um,
the 14 team, real quick, the 14 team changes things a little bit for me too, because of how thin that tight end position gets and how low the scoring can be. The fact that you got yourself what could be two top five tight ends,
yeah,
I think was a good move. I like it. I mean, I like it. I think it was good, but knowing that it was 14 team, I think it's even better.
it's an interesting draft because it's 11 starters, nine flexes, and two super flexes.
That's
So
that's
it's
wild.
like so I worried less about running back, even though they got a half a point per carry. I think Chase Brown is my top running back, and who else? J.K.
Yep.
Dobbins, Aaron Jones, Chase Brown. I grab my quarterbacks. I grab wide receivers and tight ends. Like my wide receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave, Stephon Diggs, Ricky Pearsall, and then the quarterbacks, Allen and Goff. Like it was very interesting how people viewed it. Some people thought running back was the most important position. I couldn't shake the receptions. I just couldn't shake the receptions. And I kept going back to it. We'll see if it works. We'll see if I'm in contention with at all with this. But yeah, the
I think
tight end premium. I don't see. I play fantasy baseball too, and maybe I have to get out of the strategy or the mindset where I treat tight end the same way as I do a catcher in baseball. Like I don't care. Like I don't care about catcher. You're going to get one. You're going to get low batting average, high home runs, and that's what you're going to get. Maybe this year you got lucky on a Cal Raleigh who's having like 40 plus home runs, and you step in it. But the reality is most of them are all kind of the same every year, and then they age very quickly. And then I get stuck in a two catcher league, and now I'm going against my gut because now I got to play two of them, and now I'm drafting them earlier than I want to. And that's kind of how I feel about tight end. I don't care. I'll take somebody in round 10 and probably be relatively okay about it. And then you give me that tight end premium, and I'm like, I got to draft them early. Like, they don't hold value, but in tight end premium, you got to do it because, and you made a great point. Well, every tight end's getting that 3.5. Well, so now it's not a matter of what you want to do, it's what you have to do because you're keeping up with everybody else's tight end who's getting 3.5.
Yeah, but you didn't miss it. Like you got Laporta, you got Hawkinson, you didn't miss those top eight. So for me, like I said, after that top eight, everybody's the same. So then if I don't get those top eight, while I'm not getting those top eight, I'm stacking the wide receivers and running backs and quarterbacks, right? And so now I can take 2, 3 random tight ends late and get basically the same production I would have gotten by going, if I go to tight end 9, tight end 10, well, I'll just draft tight end 15, 16 and get the same type of value, the same type of
Yeah.
production, I should say.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting you brought that up, the catcher reference in fantasy baseball, because I posted on social media. I said, hear me out. Um, no tight end position in fantasy, just add an extra flex where you can still play the tight end if you want to, right? Dude, I got 120 comments on this thing. Half the people were telling me, man, this is awesome. I love this. You're ahead of the curve. And other half were like, you're an idiot. You don't know strategy, right? Which is social media does, right? That's
Yeah.
what we're all about. But there was a big back and forth between two guys. One guy called me an idiot. The other guy was like, hold on. The tight end is actually a lot like the catcher in fantasy baseball. And they went back and forth with that
Mm-hmm.
same idea, which was interesting. You brought that up.
Yeah. It's I don't like drafting it, but I do believe it should be in there. To me,
Yeah.
like I move away from kicker, I move away from defenses. Um, an offense you got to have the tight end, and I agree. You could use it. You got to have it. I don't like it because again, other than like if you want to, and it's funny. Some people say to me all the time, "Well, I'm going to draft the top tight end because I'm going to win that position every week." Okay, but you're not winning running back one or wide receiver one because you missed out on that. And
And they
that's why
score
I
more
don't
points.
like doing that. What's that?
And they score more points. The wide receiver one, running back
Yeah,
one, all that stuff. So what we did in my league of record is we got rid of kickers, but
you
we
add a
got rid
flex.
we kicked the kicker out, added a flex. But guess what? If you want to start a kicker in that flex, you can. If you
Oh,
really want to, we let you do it. That way, that's how we got that rule passed because there were like 2 or 3 guys really holding down on that kicker. Now, granted, nobody starts one, but we let it be an option. And I just hope people, when they make these comments on stuff, especially with social media out there, like really think about what you're saying. One thing I got was, no, keep the tight end. You want to keep it as realistic as possible. And I'm like, okay, well, do you have a kicker in your league? No, nobody has kickers. Well, if your argument's to make it as realistic as possible, you should have kickers and forget team defense. You should do what we do in our dynasty league and have IDP for everyone. So bring
yeah.
that argument to the table
Well,
if you don't
you
actually
can't
believe it.
listen. You can't tell me to keep it realistic when the name of the game is fantasy.
Well, you got a point there too.
Like, listen, that doesn't work for me. I'm very realistic of what we talk about and what we do and what we play. There's a reason it's called fantasy. That's
Yeah.
all. And I get it. It's real money if you're in the big money leagues. So don't tweet at me. I get it. Some of you play for big money and there are leagues I throw a few bucks at. But it's still called fantasy, right? Like Dungeons and Dragons wasn't real either when you were a kid. It was a fantasy game. So just accept that as well, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah. And let me ask you one. Let me throw one at you. Where,
All right.
where do you have Johnny Smith?
I
So
don't.
he had a he blew up
I
last year,
did when
man.
he was in Miami, and
Uh-huh.
I don't love him in Pittsburgh. Um, and I don't look at last year as anything that is even close to repeatable. Like remember a couple of things in Miami last year. Injuries decimated them at the quarterback position. Tyreek Hill was hurt. Achan missed time. Waddle missed time. This was a guy who was the featured tight end in Tennessee and yet never had more than 450 yards.
Which is
Went to
crazy
New,
because I you don't remember him that way. Like in
yeah,
my mind, I remember him being like productive, and he just wasn't.
went to New England, and we all thought it was going to be something in New England. Went the same year as Hunter Henry,
Yeah.
and didn't even have 300 yards in either year there. Spent a year in Atlanta, probably his best year statistically, 70 targets, 50 receptions, 582 yards, 3 touchdowns, and that was paired up with Kyle Pitts. Then goes to Miami, is an afterthought, and then 88 catches, 111 targets, 884 yards. And you go, oh, Jonnu Smith has arrived at age 30 now with the Dolphins. Well, the Dolphins obviously didn't buy all in either, to trade him for a safety, Minka Fitzpatrick, and send them to Pittsburgh. Now, here's what's interesting with Jonnu Smith, though, right? Like week 1 catch for 7 yards. Miami is healthy. Week 2 has a nice game, 6 for 53. Week 3, 2 catches for 18. Week 4, 1 target, no catches. It doesn't really start to go big time, right? He doesn't have a 100-yard catch till week 11, has another one in week 13. The targets don't really start adding up. He doesn't get double-digit targets until week 12, where he has 11. 2 weeks later, he has 11. Final game of the season, he has 12. Well, what had happened at that point in Miami? It had all fallen apart. They didn't have a quarterback. Their receivers were banged up. Tyreek Hill was unhappy. So Jonnu Smith became a safety net. Is that going to happen again in Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh doesn't want that to happen again. They have 2 running backs, a veteran quarterback. They added DK Metcalf. Now, could Jonnu Smith be the second option in the passing game? I like Roman Wilson this year. He's already running with the first team. Last year's third-round pick who was hurt all year. I just don't see 88 for 884 again, and 8 touchdowns. If you're drafting him for 60 catches, 600 yards, go for it. That's fine. But if you're thinking a repeat of last year, I'm not buying in.
60 and 600, I think is going to be tough. I mentioned last week, Pat Freiermuth led this team in receiving with 65 catches. That's Freiermuth, who's still on the team, right?
Yeah, he didn't go. He didn't leave.
They brought in DK Metcalf. I really think, and I bet you agree, if I told you that Pittsburgh is going to lead the NFL in 2 tight end sets next year, you would say.
Absolutely. Because they want to run those 2 running backs into the ground and put less of it on, and then let Rodgers run. You got to run the ball to run the play action, right? And that's what Rodgers wants to do. So you've got to establish that run. You're going to establish that run by loading up the line and then run the play action. To me, that is, and then 2 tight ends splitting what?
What about 3 tight ends? They have Darnell Washington on that team. This might be Pittsburgh from the 70s where they're just running the ball every play. Do you remember Darnell Washington? That dude is huge. He's like 270 pounds.
Yeah.
Super, but still super athletic. I mean, they got 3 tight ends they can play, and they want to
somebody else draft them.
You got it.
Let somebody draft Jonnu Smith, and then I'll swoop in and take a Tyler Warren every single time.
I'm in on that.
All right, everybody. First off, thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe here to Clipboard Confessional with Bobby and Anthony. We'll be back next week. We're going to talk a little Dynasty League ideas. Yes. Who do we love in a dynasty? If we're in a dynasty, who are we maybe looking to move away from if we're in an established dynasty? We're going to talk about a lot of that next week. So make sure you stay with us each and every week. Bob, my friend, it's the quickest hour of my week. I say it every single time. A lot of fun as always, buddy.
You're the man. See ya.
All right. We'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks for watching. Right here, Clipboard Confessional. Have a good one, folks.